But we did bring sexy back.
So just because I didn't make it to Cyber Rodeo doesn't mean I can't dress up with me and my friends every now and again. Why do I look like this? And if you think this is sad, you should have saw me last night on the couch. Hey guys, this is just a quick recap of Cyber Rodeo in case you missed anything. Because I guarantee you that a few things that Elon said yesterday won't show up in the financial media. Welcome back to another video. This is Anthony, and I always have to mention, I'm super new at hitting the record button, but I'm a seasoned professional at hitting the like button. So please, like, comment, subscribe if you like what you see. But with that said, let's get started. So I just have a few key things that I want to touch on in this video, so I'll show you what Elon said, and then I'll show you what I think about it.
We've now exceeded the million, in trailing 12 months, we've delivered over 1 million cars worldwide. Now that said, there's still a long way to go, because that red bar chart is Tesla. So we can definitely, and then the blue is global vehicles. So you can see even though we did 1 million cars in the last 12 months, we're still like maybe a little over 1% of total vehicle output in the world. And we want to try to get to, I don't know, 20%, as much as we can to move the needle.
So wow, this comment really went under the radar, and I think analysts are really not going to be paying attention to it. And I know we've heard similar projections in the past, but for Elon to say this so nonchalantly is very bullish. With around 1% of the market being 1 million vehicles and 20% of the market being 20 million vehicles is pretty crazy. And honestly, I do have my own projections for the next 10 years for the global vehicle market. And while the global vehicle market is about 80 million per year right now, I do see that decreasing to around 50 to 60 million over the next 10 years. So that means if Tesla did capture 20% market share over the next 10 years, that means that Tesla would be doing about 10 to 15 million cars per year. And honestly, those numbers are so crazy that I might have to break that down in its own video.
There's going to be a dedicated robotaxi. That's going to look pretty. It's going to look quite futuristic.
So like you just heard, the dedicated futuristic robotaxi. And while over the years there's been speculation for a $25,000 Tesla, Elon really made it seem like this was very close to happening. These cars would be very low cost to build and very high margin, and way more affordable for the general public. While I do have grand expectations for the 25,000 car and what that means for the general public and adoption of EVs as a whole, just the fact that Elon's talking about this car being dedicated towards a robotaxi network is way bigger. It means that they are projecting out a robotaxi network with these vehicles. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we would see an excess of 50% gross margins on each of these vehicles. And I can tell you right now that there are no Wall Street analysts covering Tesla that are projecting out a robotaxi network or autonomous vehicles as a whole.
The car will be able to take you anywhere you want, with ultimately 10 times safer than if you were driving it yourself. And it's going to just completely revolutionize the world. This is one of those things that comes along very rarely. The Tesla Autopilot team and AI team has done an incredible job building real-world AI. And we're aiming to go to a wide beta for all full self-driving customers in North America this year.
And as you just heard, they really are trying to push FSD beta out to North America by the end of this year. And that means that there would be over 1 million vehicles by the end of this year driving themselves autonomously. And as of right now, there's only about 60,000 beta testers. And the amount of data that they would collect from over 1 million vehicles driving themselves autonomously would be unfathomable. With the Tesla team working hard to really correct all of the issues within the beta, it's going to be an insane ride. It would be one of the best indicators on how close we are to fully self-driving vehicles.
And then of course we've got the Tesla robot, Optimus. This is, I think Optimus will obviate what it even means, what an economy even means. So it'll be able to, basically anything that humans don't want to do, Optimus will do it. And it's going to be an age of abundance. And so I think it's maybe hard to imagine it, but as you see Optimus develop, and we're obviously going to make sure it's safe. No Terminator stuff or that kind of thing. But it's really going to transform the world, I think, to a degree even greater than the cars. And then we've got, and I think we have a shot at being in production for version 1 of Optimus, hopefully next year. So, and then Cybertruck is coming next year. We'll be in production with Cybertruck next year. We'll be in production with the Roadster and with Semi. So that's all coming. This year is all about scaling up, and then next year there's going to be a massive wave of new products.
And as you heard it just then, the last thing I want to talk about is Cybertruck and Tesla bot production. And while we've heard this before, it's good to hear that the Cybertruck was not necessarily delayed, and that the Cyberbot may actually come into production by next year. And I have done my own projections spanning out over the next 15 years on how much the bot will cost, the revenue it could bring in, and how much it will actually change the labor force in America. And by extension, the entire world. So if that's something you want to see, leave a comment down below and I'll make a whole video talking about what the Tesla bot means for the future. And something that wasn't necessarily mentioned, but was on the screen for a few minutes, was that they are projecting out 1 million vehicles coming out of the Austin factory by the end of this year. Which is interesting because as of right now, all analysts, or even some Tesla bulls, are only projecting 500,000 per year at this factory. And if you really don't think that this means anything, let me show you some quick numbers. So if you look right here, we're talking about another 500,000 vehicles produced and sold by the end of this year. So even the cheapest Tesla you could buy right now is $47,000, but just to be conservative, I'm going to make the average price per vehicle at $45,000. So if we just multiply those two numbers together, we get extra revenue of $22.5 billion. So factoring in 30% gross margins and 13% of that going down to the bottom line, that would be an extra $3 billion in net profit every single year to Tesla. So what does $3 billion in net profit actually mean for Tesla's share price? So currently Tesla has a PE ratio of 200. Just essentially a calculation dividing the share price of the company that you're buying and the EPS. How's it going? So if we're talking PE ratios for companies that aren't growing as fast as they used to when they first started, anywhere from a 20 to a 50 PE ratio makes sense. But for companies like Tesla that are growing wildly, it's not uncommon to see PE ratios in excess of 100. And as it stands right now, the PE ratio of Tesla is around 200, but dropping fastly. And essentially, as that ratio lowers, the cheaper the company actually is to buy. So if you want to do some simple math on PE ratios and how much your company actually should be worth, just take the net profit and multiply it by the PE ratio to see what that actually comes out to in market cap. A company like Apple that just did $100 billion in profit in 2021 has a PE ratio of about 30, which would make it about a $3 trillion company. And by looking at the share price today, you can see that the valuation is about $2.5 trillion, making it slightly cheaper than what its PE actually says. So that would be what's considered a good buy. But since Apple's growth is not as exponential as it once was, the PE ratio lowers. So now on to Tesla. So while Tesla's PE ratio is around 200 right now, we're going to take a 100 conservative PE and we're going to attach that to a $3 billion profit, adding effectively $300 billion to Tesla's market cap. And if you were wondering, that translates to around $300 worth of share price as well. And I really wouldn't be surprised if I see analysts over the next weeks and months updating their price target for the next year. But you guys already know, Wall Street has been behind the curve for many, many years on Tesla, and probably will be for the years to come. And while a lot of analysts are starting to come around, a lot of them still miss the mark. And remember, this is just talking about cars. No one's projecting Tesla bot revenue or autonomous driving revenue on robotaxi networks. So you can probably imagine what's going to happen over the next few years when analysts start realizing and waking up to what's happening within Tesla. So that's all I really wanted to cover. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.